Hello, guys. Hope you are doing good. This is TJ, and you're listening to Beyond the Ring podcast. This is my review and thoughts on Dark Side of the Ring, the ultra violence of Nick Gage. So, as I watched this show, this was a pretty good show, in my opinion. We got to see what deathmatch wrestling is all about. We got to see Nick Gage's life and his moments and all the things related to his life, deathmatch moments. So, this was kind of a concise documentary, but it was nevertheless pretty good, I would say. If you don't know, even I didn't know about this deathmatch thing, so be sure to watch this episode and review, because I will be discussing all the things that had happened in this documentary. So without any further ado, let's get into this review and discussion. Hello, guys. Hope you are doing good. This is TJ, and you are listening to Beyond the Ring podcast. This is my review and thoughts on Dark Side of the Ring, the ultra violence of Nick Gage. And as usual, this is narrated by Chris Jericho. And I haven't seen any death matches in its entirety. I'm not a fan of death matches as well. So this was a very new domain or niche for me, actually. So I was pretty interested to see how the documentary would be. Uh, this was 45-minute long documentary, and this was not a part one or something. This was the only part that they did for him. So as they say, Nick Gage is one of the god of death match wrestling. So actually, first we got saw some death matches clips of Nick Gage. So how is this gonna work? It's like I'm gonna discuss all the things that we have seen in this show in the entirety, and I will be giving my thoughts as well at the end of at the end of this video, at the end of this review. So first of all, we got some deathmatch clips of Nick Gage, some brutal stuff. And he says, "I love what I do, and I am the best MF in the world doing today." And we saw another some more clips as well: glass breaking, light bulbs, barbed wire, what all things you could see in death matches, whatnot. And John Moxley, I am referring to. John Moxley says, "Then this isn't a children TV show." Perfect man to discuss about this thing, because he was also into this world of death matches prior to coming into the national prisons in of wrestling. So he says this isn't a children TV show on Saturday morning or something. When that bell rings, Nick Gage is gonna give that fight, he says. And then Chris Jericho narrates, "Stepping into Gage's domain is an invitation for unbeatable pain where blood will be spilled," as he says. And we saw some throat cut moment as well in his one of his matches that he did. And he was actually discussing about Chris Jericho was also telling about most intense battle was fought by Gage outside the ring, at the harsh consequence of his lifestyle as well, because this was the dark truth of the Nick Gage, because of his lifestyle that affected his real life. And uh, I hope I hope you know I what I'm gonna tell. That's painkillers, whatnot, oxytocin, and I don't want to talk about these things. There may be some kids who would be watching this, so I don't want to tell about these drugs and all. So he was addicted to that. So then we see the banner of ultra violence of Nick Gage, and then we start to the documentary actually. And then we saw some more clips, like pile driver through the windshield and glass and all, escalating the brutality each time to a new level of fight. Is the perfect definition of death match, because they actually uh, cross the expectation every time they do the death match. New things are gonna be witnessed by this fan of death match wrestling. And he says, "You gotta love that shit, man." Nick Gage says, actually, because that's what I love, he says, and that will also what I'm gonna do in this, because it ain't the payday, he says. That was that. And he introduces himself then. His name is Nick Gage, he says. He's the greatest deathmatch wrestler in the world, and as leader, he says then. And uh, after that, we saw John Moxley saying that he's no stranger to ultra violence and all, because he was in the world of deathmatch before he got to WWE and all. before he got to the main national presence of wrestling in worldwide. So before Moxley came into the wider audience and become the famous, actually he started off in CZW actually as a deathmatch wrestler. He actually won. Actually uh, actually had have crossed he actually had crossed his path with this guy Nick Gage. He had matches. So one of the matches where he actually shared his memory, and he says he's always pumped up and excited. That's how he's all the time. He's referring to Nick Gage actually. And Moxley says he tells his first match with him. Gage had a piece of cutter in his hand. Moxley was thinking giving him a nice working, but he'll do and yeah, that's what they discussed. Because but Nick Gage, he was actually so into this thing. He whenever he stepped into that thing, into that ring, he turns into a monster. He turns into a man who defies the odds, and he wants to just finish his opponent. And that's what he does. And that's what the kind of discussion that Moxley and Nick Cage, that Moxley was thinking give him a nice working, will do return. It's all illusion, like just rub it, and then it's an illusion thing that we saw, that we seen in that show actually. But not so much as a not so much illusion as he says. He actually break the kayfabe there. So that's that. It's not a new thing actually. Kayfabe is broken already. Moxley was like, we are telling a good story now, and Gage is excited. And Nick Gage actually then effed up, because he hung up Moxley up on the middle rope. He got excited, fan got excited, kill that guy. Fans were saying. Gage pushes it rightwards, and he was cut open his tongue and mouth. Uh, first he actually uh, first he actually put that pizza cutter in his mouth, and just push rightwards. And the intensity of that had that at that point Moxley says he was bleeding like hell. And Moxley says that Gage doesn't do it for money, and for that any fame or something. It is in his blood, and he enjoys that, and he likes that. That's the only thing. There are some guys who are like that. So I don't say anything about that. uh, in locker room, then he shared a locker room story. In locker room, they also this also cursed him to follow them actually, John Moxley as well, to follow the bad road of smoking drugs and all that. What makes Gage comes back as Moxley stated. And then we got uh, nearly a decade, Gage built the reputation of deathmatch, as Chris Jericho is narrating then. And there was a tournament of death matches, and this is a yearly multi-round matches, endurance test of violence in the backyard farms where they do this show, and that take place, and fans come to see that brutality. For some of the hardcore death match wrestling fans, wrestlers actually survive. The setting of this thing is wrestlers survive several gruesome matches in the style, in a very gruesome way, very brutal way actually. So they actually test their endurance through survival in this match. So actually, and they actually this is a tournament, as I said. So wrestlers actually had to do multiple matches in a whole day, actually in a single day actually. So mostly it happens in Delaware, and it's kind of a field. All the initial things happens there, like smoking and drinking and all. And this was a match that's gonna happen. A Gage versus Thumbtack Jack states, and it was the finals of the tournament of death. And Black Lauderdale, then he was coming into this documentary. He says he's the owner of GCW, the Game Changer Wrestling. If you know, that's the one promotion that putting on death matches nowadays. Uh, and this was insane, and he was there. He says actually he says Brett says actually he says gone through with them. He actually have gone through with good and bad things and all. and this was in 2009 when the finals was happening, and he was the referee there. And Nick Cage was exploding in his popularity at that time in the deathmatch scene. And Thumbtack Jack, he was from Germany. He was an international superstar. He was an international deathmatch star. So there was this was a setting. The ring was actually set up with a 200 light bulbs, glass as well onto the corner and turnbuckle. The match started. Jack throws off. Match started. Initial move, just Jack throws off into the tubes. It looked like, as Brett Lauderdale says, it looked like usual things for him. Then, but the video guy spotted that he's cut in the stomach area, actually, in the rib cage area to be precise. Actually, was cut down in that area, and it was then he was like bucket loads of bloods were coming flowing from this body of Nick Cage. And Jack was furious actually because the match didn't take place then. Because match so I understand that actually when we come to any other place to have your worth, to have your talent to be shown. But if you're not getting that match, if you're not able to show that, you get pissed actually in that moment. So that's what Jack was feeling. And Nick was severely injured. He was bleeding blood, as I said. And CCW management was saying that you should not go to. But he was actually like, Nick wanted the nurse to tape him up so he can continue with the match, because he didn't want to lose this dude by forfeit. That's what he told in that documentary. And he was so stubborn like that. The company wasn't ready to send him back to the ring, but he wanted to go, and even if he died, he doesn't care, because he wanted to do that. But it was not possible, because then it was very difficult to tape him up and all, because blood was pouring out profusely. And helicopter comes. Then we saw helicopter coming. They take him. He didn't remember post that, because he was actually, as Moxley then says, Nick literally died for 7 minutes or so. And Moxley states that he died in the death, actually. Kind of a quote or a illusion, like a statement. He died in the death match, like he died in the death, actually. That's as a phrase he says, because he was made for that. And he was solidified him as a he was a solidified hero, folk hero, actually. And then interviewer asked Nick Gage, actually, was there any past of that thought this could be it for you? So he says no, he was wanting to do this since he was 9 years old. Man, I was thinking like, he's so it's so he's a kid and he's thinking about this. And how much, I mean, have you seen any 9 year old kid actually thinking about death match? So that is very surprising, actually. So grew he at this point, actually, the documentary kind of shifted to the personal things, personal matters and all. And grew up in New Jersey, but there were some his in-ring stuff as well. So he says, Nick Gage says he grew up in New Jersey. It was an area of middle class people and all. Low income people was there. And Sondra was introduced. Nick's girlfriend actually says he loved his mother. Nick's girlfriend actually says loved his like Nick Gage loved his mother. We're in the same school, actually. At the point they got they got into family stuff and all. His mom actually suffered from breast cancer. Actually, Nick Gage's mom actually suffered from breast cancer. They used to walk for the breast cancer. So some laying out of memories there. Kind of sweet moments of Nick Gage there. Walk out in the Philadelphia. And his brother, actually Chris, who also know he's known to be a wrestler, a deathmatch wrestler. They used to play. They actually at this point they actually show some uh, uh, old footage where they used to set up barbed wires, because they actually bought this from the backyard company called they actually bought that. And they actually set up on the trampoline, and they used to actually wrestle on it. I mean, I mean, what's the thing, man? What's the interest and all? What is in this? I mean, his dad was and he also shared some story that his brother he used to play football and all. His dad was a big wrestling fan, and they used to spend weekends watching Saturday night main event. Uh, and they had a backyard company called Hardcore Backyard Wrestling. Nick Gage says, and they used to videotape their matches as well. At one time, actually, they bought a barbed wire actually, and actually they in a farm, and they set up that trampoline actually that they bought, and they wrapped it all into the trampoline. And man, that stuff was brutal, as the quality was very bad because it was a kind of footage of 80s, 80 90s, but they used to build that no ropes barbed wire. So if you don't know, this is a name of a stipulation as well, that we see in Japanese as well. No rope barbed wire death matches. We also saw Moxley versus uh, Omega. That was an explosive no ropes barbed wire match. They show up the footage of Cage bleeding from his head. That was brutal. That was very nasty, man, to look at. And he has that special kind of liking and hobby I have never seen in anyone actually. One in a billion or million. I don't know what to tell. And then interviewer asks, and so what's influencing you guys to like use a barbed wire in that way? And he says probably Japanese death matches, because that's the thing that stuck, and he was a fan of it, and that's what he was actually wanted to be a death match. That's what he thought when he thought he wanted to become a death match wrestler, because they show some footage of Cactus Jack versus Teddy from another kind of another hardcore wrestler legend, IWA Japan 1995 match. And once they see Terry Funk and Cactus Jack during this thing, the character blurred, the whole violence, and the story they told in the ring, that drive Nick Cage, he says. And he was like, this is what I wanted to do, and this is awesome, he says. And then we saw some Sandman vs. Sabu ECW 1998, that footage as well, because 90s hardcore wrestling was being being uh, being the done by ECW actually. And post that, ECW when got bankrupt and got shut down, and then comes CCW in United States. And CC, as John Moxley is saying this, that CCW is in United States because he was one of the deathmatch wrestler there. And then we got to some his brother, and he actually as known as the Wilson brothers, as he says. They turned their talent of backyard wrestling roots into CCW, as Nick Gage and Justice Payne actually, they all go to CCW. They actually they actually wanted to become a big star and all. They were wrestling in backyard. They were doing their own thing, but they wanted to show the world. Actually, they wanted to show this thing that they do the best to a new fans. So this was a pure moment. This was a moment of Nick Gage, and fire moment of Nick Gage. So then interviewer asked actually, how do you think the man dealing with all the pain, dealing with all the pain and injury? As interviewer asked to Brett Lauderdale, actually the owner and the promoter of GCW, and he says he took a drugs a lot, as they show. He used to take prescription tablet from them, and drugs, and after a point of time, drugs become expensive. So he used to take then competitive drugs to that drugs which are expensive, and that for $10 a bag or something. So he was very addicted to drug, and it was bad for him after this. And then next question interviewer asked, then how much of his income would you say would go to drugs? And he's all of it, man. Brett says all of it. He was in a bad situation. He was an addict, as Brett Lauderdale says. And addiction with drugs, his relationship with mother, okay, actually brother, not mother, began to have problems, as his frustration and anger was about to erupt in the ring, as Chris Jericho narrates. So Nick was not in the top of his game. That's at that time, because the relationship with his brother and all, his substance issues was going on. So Nick actually forgot what to do in a match with his brother actually in the beginning of the match, and he had no good relationship with his brother, because Nick actually used to take this lot of drugs that kind of pissed his brother. So that's what was their relationship actually. His brother actually, Chris, slaps him in the beginning of the match because he was not remembering a spot or something. Then in the end of the match, he slams him down into an awkward angle, because he actually completed this match with with a legit anger for his uh, for Nick Gage actually, and he actually that off guard angle slam actually dislocated his shoulder, and uh, that was bad, man. Chris actually, in my opinion, what Chris did was very bad. I mean, if you it's your brother actually. You shouldn't have done that. But after that fallout with his brother, he was actually pissed his life because his brother did to him like that. He was out of business and out of wrestling for that time, and his life was going because he was nursing his injuries, and his life was going down because his mother lost the battle of breast cancer. And then interviewer asks, how did that affect you? He says, not good, you know. When your mother passed away, that's a feeling, so when his mother died actually, after that he never cared about anything because he didn't have anyone to care about or something. He can do whatever he want. So he was going to kind of a depression phase. He didn't talk to anybody, he says, and I was in the hood and he didn't do anything. He was just sitting on the couch with his girlfriend's mom. And at a point, then his girlfriend's mom actually, Sandra's mom actually, they they were not doing anything. They were doing they weren't doing any work for money, as Sandra says. So they didn't work, they didn't pay the bills, they didn't care. So actually, that's why Sandra's mother, they kicked out of both of them from her house actually. And Brett Lauderdale then says he was going out of town for some reason, and his trip was cancelled uh, for some or the other reason. And he walked onto his door. It was open. So when he opened the door, he saw two people was sleeping in the mat. It was Nick and his girlfriend sleeping on the ground. So he was pissed actually. Without his permission, they got to his home. They broke out his home, and he kicked out both of them because he was pissed. And Nick says at that point, I was very frustrated, I was very angry, and it was actually very cold as well. As he stated, it was 10 degrees or something outside. He was angry and upset. He needed money as well. He had nowhere to go, nowhere to live, no money to spend. So that leads to, he says he was walking to the street. He sees a bank. He wasn't sure to go, but next one he sees, he actually gone. Gone to a bank, and he actually wrote a note handle to the staff teller actually. And he said he has his gun, give me all the money, he says. And he actually got $3,000 from that killer. And he actually left from so actually left from there. Goes to his friend's house, the friend's house which is Brett Lauderdale, and which was Brett Lauderdale actually. And he throws off all the money to the table, and then Brett asks, where did you got all this money? And Nick lied that he got from a drug dealer. But the money was like uh, newly print, as Brett says. And Brett, did you rob the bank, as he asks, because the money were that new. And it's actually kind of actually kind of money that's got from the bank or something, and ATM or something. And then Nick calls Moxley actually. Nick says, did you check out my mail? And Moxley checks out, I didn't, man. Moxley checks out, and it's a picture of him at the back as Moxley was addressing this time. And it was clear that it's Nick Gage. As we see that Nick Cage footage was there, and he realized the camera would be there when he looked up. So he had known that he would have messed it up. So he used to, and Moxley said he used to come to the ring like by wearing a handkerchief on the face. But the only time he didn't care about wearing that handkerchief was when he was robbing a bank actually. So that's a pretty dumb stuff that he did, because he was on the newspaper then. And Nick's girlfriend says, Sandra says his face to the newspaper, asked about that, and she admits that she was with him. She didn't leave. Whatever he does, actually, Sandra was kind of support system for Nick. So all bad stuff and all, because she didn't control him, control Nick Gage. as I see in this documentary, whatever he did, she was with him. She didn't leave him. Whatever he does, she was with him, as she actually said as well. Yeah, admitted as well. So they left to City to escape from the cops. His objective was to spend this money. Nick Cage's objective was to spend this money on the run from the law. Chris Jericho narrates on the run from the law. Nick Gage expected escape to Atlantic City, and they go to a casino actually, and he was being inquired Brett every single day to know whether he's ready to come back or something. He's ready, and one fine day he says, "I'm ready." After that, he came back to the city. After that he came back to the city, and cops actually arrested him. He was charged for second degree robbery and was sentenced for jail for 5 years in New Jersey State Prison. So this was a bad time that Nick Gage was going on through for what he did. So they put him in the 3 North Sea, as Nick Gage was telling the prison story. He was put him in the 3 North Sea, which is a murder block, gang block, and a gun block actually. And they put him, and they just go find your bed. uh, but Nick said it wasn't easy, as we say. And so he was in the jail. And then Brett says his brother never wants to see him because he's a criminal. As his brother says, he would clean his own mess, as his brother Chris said. And then we hadn't seen Chris because Chris actually had died, so we don't get his footage. So then we saw, while in jail, he used to get Woods. He used to get Nick Gage used to get loads and loads of fan mails actually motivating him that he will witness light on him. And that's the point. Nick Gage said that he actually thought about that. He has some loads and loads great fan base out there for his deathmatch wrestling and for his type of wrestling. He didn't know that actually. And this was a point. He actually wanted to turn it around, and from his life that he had. So he was in the jail, and he used to train. And he said he realized how much fans really cared about him, how much they touched upon their lives, on the people and their entertainment. And he wanted to, and he says, as he said, Nick Gage states, he wanted to do three things actually. He wants to change his mind, body and soul. And he started to get back into the wrestling. And he was kind of training in the jail, in the prison. He started training on March 31st, 2015. He just over 4 years, and on March 31st, 2015, he was getting released from the prison on parole actually, and he returned to CZW after that. So Brett actually launched his promotion at that time, Game Changer Wrestling, and he wanted Nick Gage to make his company achieve a big money status, big status actually. And had this plan. Brett Lauderdale has his plan to get him on to have a death match in the show, calling the show a Nick Gates Invitational show. And before a day of this event, actually, Brett called Nick Gage actually, and he was crying. And somebody uh, around him, actually close to him, said he's taken away from me. He's gone. And he was being arrested. That's what happened. So he had the drug test that was there, and he tried to falsify urine and all to escape that test. But eventually, he was tested. He actually caught with using someone else some sort of device, and Brett was pissed actually because he messed up all that. Messed all it up when it was going well, because as he said, it's never going to be escaping this stuff, because that's what he was facing in his family's issues, situations and all, because that's what he was facing. So that's what his downfall again actually. And he was actually sent to jail again for another 2 years for parole violation actually, because he failed in the drug test. And he finally made his debut with his murder kill gang at GCW, as Brett actually invited him. And he says his MDK, that he states murder, death, kill, that gang has so much gone wild worldwide actually. So Brett was planning to have one of the bizarre death matches, as Chris Jericho was narrating there. they were going to have a bizarre death match. And interviewer asked, "How did this match with David Arquette about?" So if you don't know, I also don't know. Uh, Prior to this, so David Arquette is an actor. He was a former WCW champion as well in 2000, and his WCW championship, as David says, is still hated by the fans, run by still hated by the fans. And he was preparing to return to the ring. He didn't. He actually met Nick Gage. Nick actually confirms and asks, "Are you sure?" and all. It's not fake, it's gonna be real thing. As Nick Gage said that it's gonna be real, and you should not take it as lightly. He was confirming with him. Nick Gage actually was confirming with David actually in a restaurant when they met each other. But he said, "Don't cut me in," as David Arquette says, and Nick actually agreed upon. But we know back in the moment as well, we seen what he did with John Moxley. So he was that kind of guy. So they are having he was kind of guy who says one thing and does another thing, and they're having the match and some laying out from market then. And Nick says Nick was actually pissed and about this man. He was getting into that feeling, getting into that character, and he says, "I'm gonna take this guy to the next level now." And Nick was laying out then glass and tube lights and all. It was real, and David felt that actually. He says, and this B, as David says, is doing the real thing. That's what I didn't. That's what I didn't. That's what why I didn't said that. So not able, and during the match he was not able to trust him going forward in this match, as David said. And Nick felt like he was cut open to the mouth as well, because at the point he was like a kind of cutting his head, and then he twisted it into a blow to the neck area. And he was like that was a point. Nick Gage actually felt that he's actually felt the pain actually, because Nick Gage is a kind of guy, as he was saying, that he doesn't felt the pain that other does. So he was expecting that this was all kind of normal, because he don't see, and as well he don't see his opponent as his game, his wrestling thing. Don't see it as acting or something. He wants to do it 100% legit. So that's what he did with David Arquette, poor Arquette. And Nick definitely didn't hold up what he said, as David Arquette was saying. And David was actually pissed. Finish of the match, as was saw we saw that Nick have a judo throw and just pinned him. He got out of it after losing right away. uh, David actually got out of it right away. He got out of it, and from there, and he haven't had a talk with him since, because he was pissed with what Nick Gage did. Next we saw some after the match. TMZ was interviewing, asking about the match to David Hackett. I said he would never want to go, or never want to talk about this. He never want to go about for the death match and all, as he says when he was interviewed by TMZ. So he was running successful. He got that mainstream success and all. Nick Gage, and his popularity grew more. He was starting to get into his best phase of life actually. But in January of the next year, he had a tragedy where his brother actually passed away. His brother actually jumped over a bridge. So actually, what this is what happened. He stole a car. Actually, cops were running after him, and he just jumps off the bridge, and he was passed away. And Brett Lauderdale says Nick actually had started to having mental health issues, because his brother passed away, and substance issue was being haunting him over and over again, and he was constantly worried about getting something wrong. So deep down in his heart, he was affected, and some regret as well for his brother, what he did for his brother and all, what he all did, even though, yeah, what he did for the brother, and he just want to make his brother proud, and that's what he want to do in his phase of life, as Nick Cage is saying. And then the interviewer asked, "Do you think Nick's story is one of the redemption?" He says, "Every day is battle. You gotta fight that battle, and he needs to face the situation in his life. You need to face the situation." Some kind of motivation stuff there by Nick Cage. And Nick says, then he will die sooner or rather than later. And interviewer asks, then, is he good with that? To die? And Nick says, yeah, absolutely. Nick says, I rather die in a good way rather than a bad way. And that's cool, man. What he does is what he does, it's nothing less than a death. Actually, he's playing with a death actually every match. So John Moxley then says he has that heart to go for, and it's not his biceps or anything, it's its connection with the audience actually. And he says Vince McMahon, he actually uh, uh, he actually did a quote on Vince McMahon that Vince McMahon would kill to have one person with that connection with the audience than Nick Gage has. So he would have to kill himself to have this kind of that Nick Gage kind of person. He feels like that. John Moxley feels like that. It's kind of this his story is getting started as John Moxley is stating. Nick Gage then finishes off with his and he says he's bounced back. He's proud of that. He's actually very fortunate have these kind of fans. His murder, death, kill gang and all, and that's it. This was the show. So the starting moment of the starting 15 minutes, I would say, this documentary was very well. I enjoyed this. Post that, it got to some family moments and all, but nevertheless, this a documentary definitely would be there. I am not complaining about that, but this was pretty good, I would say. Uh, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know if I am not into deathmatch wrestling. That's why I'm feeling. But it was pretty good. This was a pretty good episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and the next we are gonna see the next Dark Side of the Ring, which is on this Thursday. It is the collision of North Korea, New Japan stuff that's they are gonna do, and I feel this was definitely different from other voice documentary. As I felt, in my opinion, this was very good, but. Had the momentum gone stale somewhat in the closing moment because of his and at the 20 minutes mark because of his personal moments coming, I would say pretty good to watch as well. Definitely, you should watch it to know about the dark stuff that deathmatch brings it, and all about the deathmatch wrestling in a very concise manner. If you didn't watch it, you can watch this if you didn't watch if you didn't watch if you have not if you have no time, you can definitely listen to my review, because this was all happened in the dark side of the ring, the ultra violence of Nick Cage. I had covered I have covered all the things that happened. I hope you enjoyed this thing. I would keep doing forward this kind of episode as and when it comes. So please be sure to like, share, subscribe, because kindly make sure to like, because that helps with the YouTube algorithms for me. So I wish you support me for this thing. That's the only thing I'm demanding. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And till then, be safe, stay energetic, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.